Hello, everyone, and welcome to another thrilling episode of the Days Grimm. My name is Brian Michael Day.
My name is Thomas Grimm.
Tom,
Brian,
do me a favor.
joining us this week in the Days Grimm shoebox from our long line of ancestry of boredom brotherhood, running from the cops in diapers, here to talk about conspiracies and not kicks. Zach Berendsen.
What up? Is this like number 4?
Yeah, that's a bleep within 4 seconds.
Yeah, you just bleep all that out.
Oh, like number 4, you having been on?
Yeah.
3, I think. We'll wait for maybe the DJ can pull it up over
I
here.
don't know, 3 or 4. Somewhere there.
Definitely have done 3. Definitely have done 3. How are you, sir? You doing okay?
We're golden.
You got some really fucking nice looking shit kickers on.
I'm not mad. I'm not mad.
Brand spanking new square toes on?
Yeah, I finally wore out my old ones. I pretty much own nothing but muck boots at this point. I'm I feel like I should find something better.
Can you define a muck boot?
It's basically homeless, just with extra steps.
Oh, okay. Nice, dude. Vagabond boots.
Yeah, like
Nice. Tom?
things you want to be cold and wet in.
Yeah. How are you,
Muck
sir? You
boots.
doing okay, Tom?
Yeah, doing all right.
You got
Interested in just getting stuff prepped for pulled up on screen.
You're looking awfully Aryan today, so that's
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure. And starting the show off right with a very aggressive slur, so this should be a good time.
And a mustache.
Yeah, this horrific
My
mustache.
kid's deep into fucking Sonic right now, and I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie, Eggman would be fucking
that
calling
reminds
your
me.
name.
God,
Jim
dude.
Carrey just retired. I'm just saying, you might get the role, Tommy.
Yeah, if I could act and anything other than porn.
Tom's been doing this thing now in podcast where he just will twirl his mustache for like the entirety of the interview.
That's
and
part of having a
it
mustache.
Fucking irritates
Except for when you have
me.
gel in. When I have gel in it right now, I don't feel like twirling it.
It's just locked in.
Yeah,
Nice, dude.
it's when you're in a pinch and you use chapstick,
Right, I'm trying
and
to
then it
pick
just
up
dries
these
out.
frequencies from the aliens with the antennas. I'm gonna start rhodium dipping
Right.
the tips.
Look, if you can start eating with them, that's when we'll be impressed.
yeah, if you turn into a live
Fucking mandibles.
human-sized bug.
I'm gonna start connecting electrodes.
You got to say it
different
right,
sides.
reptilian.
Reptilian exoskeleton type creature, that would be
So I
phenomenal.
think it's fun that we all 3 got in here. Zach, you like conspiracies.
Mhm.
I don't really shy away from anything.
Right. Yeah.
I
Nothing's
just
off
raw dog
limits.
the world, and the world just raw dogs me.
Yeah, I like it, dude.
And then we raw dog each other.
Yeah.
I think that's how that works.
Yeah,
Okay.
we don't believe in
In a
contraceptives.
shoebox.
Yeah, no contraceptives here at the Days Grimm.
What about that? What's that lube that they put on condoms that's supposed to kill sperm?
Spermicidal lube.
Yep, I'm pro that. Spermicidal sounds crazy.
Not where I
that's
thought that was
wild.
going. Not mad.
Well, you never know with Thomas.
The spermicides turning these boys gay.
Yeah,
He's keeping it fucking Christian.
old TAG3, tag 3 over here.
Dude, my brain is on fire today. Dude, the whole way on the way over here, I was on the phone with Brian just riffing.
He was, dude.
Oh, fuck.
we were riffing for like 30 minutes.
You guys were prepping.
Yeah, no, we're
no
on
prep.
it.
I did like
Speaking
30
of-
minutes of prep, folding laundry. It's like, I got
Speaking
this.
of
It's
prepping,
fine.
this all started. This is all Berendsen's fault. So
we've always talked about aliens with Berendsen.
Yes, but I want to have
Facts.
him introduce, since he was the one that introduced the story to
He
us.
sent us this. Let's explain the book you bought that you didn't read but gifted to Brian.
What are we about to talk about today, sir? What's the name? Do you know the name of the book? It's Alien Interview
Yeah, it's
by Spencer R. Lawrence.
That's
then-
about what Matilda O'Donnell McElroy.
Yeah,
The
and we
957th bomb group in what 1947, 1948.
46, 47, 48.
I
Yeah.
thought it was in 47.
Yeah.
It's been a hot minute, guys. I'll be
1947.
honest. Look
Yeah.
at me go, fucking
Yeah.
riffing, dude.
Nice,
It's been
dude.
like 5 years since I went down this hole.
Dude, we are all 3 firing on all cylinders right now.
Yep, this is. Hold on.
Yeah,
Get the salts out. Whoop.
So intro us on the book, though. Just to give a brief synopsis to the people that don't know about Alien Interview by Spencer R. Lawrence. What does the book essentially, in a gist, talk about?
In a gist, the book is essentially it's a fictional, underlined fictional stab
Air quotes.
Yeah, so it could be distributed and published. It's a fictional stab on the events that took place after Roswell immediately within about the next week, the following 72 hours. And it's a point of view experience of a lady that was a part of essentially the recovered craft. And
She was a nurse, right?
Yep.
Yeah, she was a nurse.
She was a nurse, part of the recovered craft. And you can look up the Bone Group if you want, but essentially, 1947, UFO goes down over, what is it, White Sands, New Mexico?
In the town of Roswell.
Yeah, in the town of Roswell, goes down, and
not far from White Sands.
Yeah, and essentially the government covers it up in the long run, but
it was a weather balloon.
Immediately, it was actually published as recovered UFO vehicle, and then everything went dark.
Yeah,
and it got wiped off the face of the earth, and So for people out there looking for truth, if you do a little digging, you're going to find about a bazillion versions of this shit.
But this book specifically comes from, what's her name? Matilda
O'Donnell McElroy.
So this book is written from the perspective, essentially, the way I took it was this young lady helping the army over in White Sands walks you through the events through these letters that she wrote that was given to a guy, Spencer R. Lawrence, or somebody connected to Spencer.
That she gave to him.
That she gave to that individual, explaining. And then basically the book is the letters put in chronological order, walking you through post-crash and what happened.
Yeah, they're the military transcripts that this lady...
Yeah, transcripts, yes.
Essentially... Post-crash, they discover a body of an entity and I think 3 other bodies.
Call it a sleeve?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that wild?
We'll get into that.
Isn't that wild? So they discover a body.
Yeah. Multiple bodies, but one's alive.
Multiple bodies. One is still coherent. They take it back, but upon the crash site, she was instantly, unknowingly able to telepathically communicate with this being. She didn't know she could, but she was being communicated with. And
she said it was a lot like, it wasn't like thoughts exactly. It was more like pictures or like
pictures, images, feelings.
Feelings
emotions.
And images and emotions were not English was transferred to her knowing. It was like thoughts.
Yeah.
And how it like, almost like, I feel like they like...
but she was the only one. Out of everybody there.
Yeah, they tried other people to like go in there and talk, and it like wouldn't.
So of course, what's the military do? They're like, all right, we're going to put you in a box with this thing, and we want you to get everything you fucking can out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they like gave her a list of questions to ask over and over and over. And then they were like, hey,
refused.
Can you teach this thing English?
No.
Dude,
Yeah,
so, okay, let's get... So
they had to level the playing field.
That's the gist. That's the rough overall layout. So she basically... So they put this alien in captivity, and then later on... Like we were talking about, the thing that's interesting that we should start with is how she communicated. I think that's fascinating that A, it's telepathic, and B, it's not like things were being translated to English in her brain. They were like feelings, like scared, sad, or images or whatever.
I'm sure, like clips, videos, whatever.
Yeah,
before
nudes,
the time,
whatever.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like alien nudes. But I think that's fascinating. And you had a fun thought about.
Well, I brought up the question to like a different group of friends, not people that we were, here in the room.
Yeah.
And I was like,
not people of this wavelength.
Right. I was like,
people like not that, on the spectrum.
I said, is telepathy real or fake? And then I sent them the 2 videos that we'll pull up and watch here in a minute. And the guy was like, the Rogan clip, that type of telepathy, fake. The alien telepathy, real. And I'm like,
what? How can you differ?
Dude, it's a wild age.
Telepathy is telepathy.
Here's the thing, though. There's been studies on telepathy.
I could tell you the answer
before
to
we
that
dive
problem,
into
but we're not gonna go there.
have you heard about the studies with telepathy, dude? It's fucking wild. There's these kids that are like retarded, I think. Are they retarded?
They're nonverbal. So.
Yeah, so they have some kind of disposition where they don't talk, but they can like a teacher can be staring at the kid, write the word blue.
Well, I got the clips, so we can just.
Oh, is that what you have pulled up?
Oh, no shit.
Wait till you see this shit. It's wild.
So we'll watch the clip from the lady first.
Pull these up, Tommy. Do you have volume on the MacBook now?
Yeah. They're loading real fast, and then
Go ahead and load that next one too.
It is.
Okay. It's wild, dude, because like these kids that are nonverbal they know what's on the card without ever seeing.
Because I was listening to this.
Can you pause it? This is by the way, whoa, pause all of this. Okay, hold on. Go back to the reading. So the first one is a reading from, Jesus Christ. This is a reading from, it doesn't say where at, but this is the nurse woman explaining how they communicated, her and Errol. And Errol is the alien that's alive that she's interviewing. So now you can play this so they have frame of reference. Yeah.
When that line,
That right there, that line.
That line. I've become more comfortable with telepathic communication, but she doesn't go into any more in depth on like, is she only telepathically communicating with this alien, or she learned to do it with other people? She mentions later on that like they brought in these other people that like claim to talk to spirits or whatever.
So
it's like she couldn't.
No luck.
On that thought, though.
Oh, hey, by the way,
Yeah.
the alien is Errol.
Errol.
No,
That's
we,
what I said.
we didn't explain that, but
Yeah, Errol
to the
is-
viewer, AIRL, Errol is
the
the
aliens.
entity they recovered.
It's its proper nomenclature of its
Correct.
soul or whatever, and we'll get into that more later.
Yeah,
but
ISB.
you heard about this telepathy thing from that lady that went on Rogan. Now, what the fuck? Make it stop. Make it stop, dude.
Nice lady.
But this lady, Kai Dickens, comes on the Rogan Experience and is talking about telepathy and all these experiments they've done. Rogan has an extremely interesting comment, though, which I don't know if it's in this clip or not. During the interview, he mentions, because they're talking about telepathy, can anybody do it? Is it possible? Is it a real thing? And she's advocating that it is. And then Rogan kind of sits there and thinks for a second. He's like, I wonder if it's not one of those like animalistic instincts that we've just gotten
Lost.
away from. A lot like how some humans can wiggle their ears still. The reasoning behind that is because we used to have to rotate our ears to listen for danger.
Yeah, but cats have ear hair for like wind things.
But that
and
was-
I have ear hair for no reason.
But that was
right.
Rogan's thought, was that like, is this just a thing that we've either like genetically evolved out of, or is it something that we're going to evolve into? Like, it's got to be something, because she has proof that it's real. And then you can play this clip and we'll get into it again. This is Kai Dickens. It's wild.
But yeah, like she's basically like a bunch of these teachers have come forward about these kids being able to. I think they're making a show about it too.
Dude,
They
I'm not
are.
mad.
The show is based on her podcast, and it's called. She says it multiple times in the interview. What's it called, Tom?
The Telepathy Tapes is the podcast.
Telepathy Tapes is going to be the name of the show as well, or it's going to be like a docu series on like
Gotcha.
telepathy and these young nonverbal children. I don't know if. So does that mean they're actually recorded, or are they just like? Are they?
I think it just depends. Some of them like can't talk and they just make noises. Some
But
of them
that's
can't
wild, dude. Teachers are seeing that shit.
All I can think about is how fortunate that lady is that her the N in her name is not an M.
Dickums.
God, that'd be bad. Could you imagine?
Yeah, that'd be lit.
I'm kind of a pile of crap for that, but
Dickum.
Dickums.
Dickums.
But like, what's crazy though
Kentucky
is so like this Matilda O'Donnell lady, which is not a real person. It's an alias, or what would you call it? A fake name.
An alias. Yeah. Alias is the right term.
So like, she talks about how like this thing doesn't have eyelids, so it's just like black eyes. Mm-hmm. It doesn't need food. It doesn't need a specific temperature or water or anything along those lines. It's not a
biological being.
Yeah, so that from what I got is they call them sleeves. So like our body right now would be our sleeve, and essentially they're just like what we would imagine consciousness, I guess, just like floating around without void, I guess.
There is no biological body.
Right. And then when they go to do these long trek missions or whatever, then they get put in a body.
They call it a doll body.
Yeah,
they call it a doll body. But simply put is the being itself is referred to itself as an is-be, was,
but I think that's
will
what they
always
call
be.
Souls.
It's an is-be.
Yeah, but it's essentially a soul. Is-be, ISBE.
And they call us is-bees as well.
Yeah, she communicates in the book that we're like this is-be that has like, that is wearing this sleeve, Errol, that is in that doll body.
Millions of euros, by the way.
Yeah, she refers to it as an is-be, and then Errol at some point says, basically to Matilda, says, well, I'm an is-be, you're an is-be, everyone is an is-be, and it's basically, like Tom was saying, it's just a consciousness.
And like Zach mentioned, she said she was like millions of years old. She said like the last time she interacted with like human society was like the year like 5000 BC or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they can recollect like all of that from the start to the beginning. Like essentially she teaches English to the ISB. Errol receives it and then finds a way to communicate better for her to understand.
Right. And from my understanding it was like she was like, I radioed or I transmitted back and then re-downloaded, and like
she basically called corporate and was like, hey, we good to do this shit?
Yeah, there was a pilot.
We good to drop this mic?
Yeah, there was a pilot or something she had to
give me
communicate.
the do's and don'ts.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, do's and don'ts, we're good here? All right, cleared?
She had to talk to her attorney first, you know what I mean?
Well, I was wondering too, like how much of like, I didn't, I made it like 2 hours and they kind of lost me on the talks of like the old empire and stuff along those lines.
That I don't focus too much on. It's the premise.
Right. But I was thinking like how much of that overlaps with like the Anunnaki.
Oh, yeah. Well, essentially the Anunnaki, from what, like if you listen to the whole book.
Because it's like our first talking point.
The whole
here. Earth is a prison project, and the Anunnaki Earth was the prison project.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
In the book, they refer to it as a prison dumping grounds. And essentially...
In the alien interview?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they refer to the Earth as a prison
try to
planet.
Escape away from whatever it is afterwards.
Your soul or consciousness itself is, was, will always be. That is an is-be. Your body is simply just a vehicle. You will always be. We are all God. There is no God. Like it gets like if you're super Christian, trust me. I'm Catholic. I'm Christian. I get it. But this gets out there.
It's enlightening, dude. Because I hate to keep going back to Rogan, but Rogan had this guy, this old fella on that I told you about a while back. I forget his name, but he believes that the universe is all a simulation.
Projection.
Yeah. Yeah, that. One of those two, a projection or a simulation, one of the two. But basically, he starts talking about there is somebody outside of this, like, controlling this. And I think that's interesting when you start, like...
It's Jack
when
Black.
you take something so macro and then you define it by something so small that has an inconsequential amount of substance. In this case, it would be the is-be. It would be the consciousness that weighs nothing, that is nothing, and can traverse light years in a second. You know what I mean? Like, I think that thought, like, if you are a religious person, it's not that your religion is wrong. I think
they all stem from roughly the same thing. Look up all religions.
If this was true, like, let's just take this book for fact, then imagine, could you imagine if this book was fucking 100% factual?
Ouch.
Ugh. But anyways, let's assume...
We're all God at that point.
Let's assume that this is fact. essentially they talk about reincarnation because she says, well, once you die, your Isby goes on to either the Old Dominion or this other thing, and then you either come back to Earth or you escape out of the fucking whatever, and you become one of us.
Mm-hmm.
So
you can be enlightened, or
but
essentially
I feel
you just get
like
reincarnated again.
That still ties into religion in a way, though. Like there's still an ultimate creator somewhere. It's just not this dude named Jesus that we're talking about.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Which you can take however you want. It's not like we're not getting into the religion part of it. It's more
I don't
the
want
premise
to.
of the book.
Somebody just said religion, and it made me
explain.
think about that. I think it's funny whenever you take something.
I was trying not to trigger anybody.
Oh yeah, trigger alert. We're going to talk about.
Whoa, you can't say that.
Yeah.
Trigger
Black
warning.
flag.
No, but yeah, I think it's funny when you take something so macro and crush it down into something so micro. I think that's an interesting concept. But yeah, that is
the
true.
premise of the book that really just changed my life in general. Like it's just honestly when you meet somebody
Explain
that comes
that.
into your life and they really just provide a fresh new way of thinking, that's what this book did for me. It was just, look, I was spending long times on the road away from my family, just really grinding it out. And it was really before like I had a family or really anything to live for. And it just really opened my mind to like a new way of thinking of like, okay, there's more. I don't know how I got it. Like literally I was just spending hours behind the wheel a day, just falling the fuck asleep, trying to stay awake.
Oh, dude,
And
you got to do.
I was raw dogging windows down, hauling fucking manure at like 80 mile an hour, trying not to die.
I get it.
Yeah.
I think it was interesting.
Listen to fucking aliens and just
that they
having
mentioned
it out.
that this craft, like it's like a telepathic communication esque like relationship between Errol and like her craft.
Oh yeah, because no one else could run the craft but Errol.
Right.
No, so the whole point of the craft is like, if you ever listen to the Bob Lazar interview,
Going back to Rogan again.
100%. No, not even Rogan, just in general. His story's been the same for fucking 40 years.
Every 5
Yeah.
years he just
But
re-releases it.
Just if you ever listen to anything anybody ever says about a UFO crap, essentially, and what they'll explain in the book is consciousness is his own thing. They use the doll bodies and they build them specifically, just like we were built specifically to be a prisoner on this planet per the book.
Yeah. It doesn't just happen by chance
we're
that our
made
body
to
is made
stay
for
here. That's
this
why
gravity,
our environment is made for
this
us.
air,
We are
this
not made
water.
to leave this
Yeah.
environment. That's why it's so goddamn hard to get to space.
Yeah.
Now, you take that concept and explode it a little bit. Their consciousness has vehicles. They can use said vehicles to do different tasks, move throughout the galaxy, check on things, keep fucking nuclear wars from happening, this, that, and the other, whatever. They don't really care. They're just trying to keep us from blowing up the materials and the minerals that we have here. Other than that, they don't give a shit. But the craft itself is built as one piece, and it is systematically wired to the brain of that vehicle, which is the body. And the body is specifically wired specifically,
like
and
the
it's all
remote key.
frequencies and wavelengths. That's it. It's like you literally could 3D print this as one solid cube of ice meets another solid cube of ice, and it's powered by this electrical current.
Yeah.
If you think it doesn't. There is no controls. There's no gauges.
That's hot.
Yeah, it's
just driving and be like, I need to
fucking
rub
wild.
one out, and it just bloop.
They talk about the also.
I need to go there. Bye.
We're waiting for Elon to incorporate some sort of like pocket pussy attachment to his Teslas, but until we get there, I don't think we've made it yet. So, but anyways, that being said,
there'll be vibrators in the seats first. Come on now. We always get the last.
They talk about the craft though, which is an interesting topic. How it was like flush dash and everything was flush. There were no controls and they couldn't figure anything out. No
nothing.
instrumentation, no nothing. And then Errol goes on to explain exactly what you were just talking about, how it's like tailored for that.
Well, and they can
doll.
bounce back and forth too.
But going back to like Bob's story though, it's interesting because we couldn't figure out, assuming that the crash was real and that we really did recover a craft and we really did try to reverse engineer, like Bob Lazar says, which I believe. I think I'm like 80% in on the fact that we tried to reverse engineer alien craft. Are you in on that? Do you buy that?
I think there's some technologies that we have now that we wouldn't have had, like fiber optics and stuff like that, if they didn't.
Oh, 100%.
Bluetooth, like any
capacitors.
That's all the reverse engineering.
But
things that we didn't know about.
How many guys does
But
Bob say
50 years ago?
How many guys did he say died before? Because they found the fuel cell.
Or was there was that guy from Mexico in that crash that like found an alien and then died of like some rare disease?
Extreme radiation. Like fucking immediately died in like 2 days.
Oh, 100%. Too easy, dude.
Yeah.
But no, Bob talks about like the fuel cell that powered the craft, and
Element
that was
115 and all that shit.
that was his first task. And he meets his partner in the lab, and they're like, "Hey, what are we doing?" And they were like, "Oh, we're working on this sphere." And this sphere was like the fuel cell for the craft. And you can only imagine whatever reverse gravity, anti-gravity fucking thing this is that gave the fuel to the thing. But he talked to the guy that he was working with, and the guy's like, "Yeah, you're like the fourth one. The last guy tried to hit it with a screwdriver and died or something."
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember hearing about Yeah, dude.
Cliff note.
We can't figure it out because it's
It'd be
beyond
funny
us.
if the tabernacle was low-key just like an ancient alien fuel cell, and the Jews were carrying it around the desert for like, what, 40 years?
Joke's on you, bro. It's just the magic school bus.
That's how they got the pagers to explode.
If anyone has it figured out, it's the Jews. Joking.
100%. Yeah. Have you ever heard about the Nazi bell? Yeah.
No,
Give
I
that
don't know
one a
about that.
fucking ring.
Give that
That's
one
a
a
good
ring.
one. It's a UFO. It's a UFO. They built a fucking UFO. Got
God,
the
that's
fuck out
hot,
of here.
dude. I'm here
No,
for that.
100% though. Cliff note.
Yeah.
You were asking him if he was in on that train, and I'm just going to say
The
like,
reverse engineering thing.
yeah, and like
Yeah.
beyond that, but my take on like all these UFO sightings, all this shit that like one, if you have something fucking cool, like homeboy, you get a fucking sweet ass Corvette, or you get that clapped out fucking Mustang out back.
Yeah.
You're not gonna go show that shit off.
Right.
First off, Daddy's gonna whip his dick out, and we're gonna make something cool happen. Like first, I got to show that off.
Yeah.
Second off, just like a Mustang, sometimes they're crowd killers.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry, I wrecked that bitch.
Yeah. Too much horsepower.
I feel like we're back engineering shit, and then we're playing. Well, let's scare these people and see what we can get away with.
You like hear like they crash due to like aerial crash due to an electric storm, but then you hear like the ones that were flying in New Jersey that have been showing up like every year around Christmas time for like the last 3 years. Like they shoot these like electronic frequencies at them, and it doesn't mess with them. So like either these
oh no, it's more terrifying when they shoot back.
Yeah, but these ISBs are either like, all right, let's get some electronic repellent, or like we're building it and we're like, all right, the only thing that messes with these are electromagnetic frequencies. Let's paint it in some shit that.
Yeah. I could see that, dude.
Well, if you listen to the book long enough, she says the only thing that downed her craft was like a fucking lightning storm.
Right.
And they're like, first off, you got to have nuts to come here because this place is a dumping ground for prisoners, and the prisoners are just basically all rapists, morons, and people that were so damn smart that think about what we've accomplished in 2,000 years. Now times that by 300 million.
Yeah.
300 billion, 300 trillion. There are people who have been around so long that they've literally used up like everything that there was to be invented, made, whatever, that they've decided, okay, we've used that up. It's done. It's over with. This ISB is no longer useful. If the ISB thing
is real,
prison planet.
Yeah.
If the ISB thing is real, do you think like the innovators of our times are just like
they specifically
like
call
Elon?
out Isaac Newton? She says specifically Isaac fucking Newton is an ISB that got in touch with himself, figured it out, and he just remembered his past lives and technology that was already there. He just tapped into what he already knew.
Or like some Einstein
which is a whole
shit.
nother way of thinking. And I really hate to do this to everybody, but I'm just saying, literally, take a breath and think about what thought is in consciousness.
Yeah.
Imagine if there's nothing that hasn't been invented already, that you're essentially just tapping into something that's already been there. Like any thought that you've had has already been thought.
It's so
you can't create. You can
I
only remember.
to this in the fact of like, there's been how many jokes or things I've said to you, and then like 4 to 6 months later, you see it from somebody else.
Yeah, like
on,
you
like
literally
Instagram or something.
The question is, you cannot create. You can only remember, or you can only recall. If it's
Joe had something like that,
dude, it's wild. Like go down that wormhole of thought.
Everything.
It's bad.
Oh, that's
Joe
what
is.
it was.
You're gonna listen back to this. And you're gonna be like,
We should just.
Joe is literally Chance the Rapper.
He is, dude. He is the GOAT of podcasting.
He's literally just like this generation's Jesus.
His thought is that he was talking to somebody in an interview, and they were talking about
Joe Rogan, the prophet.
You know, it may have been the telepathy gal, Kai. But anyways, he's talking about thoughts,
Dickums,
and how things come to be, just like Tom was.
Thoughts come to be by not having a dad.
No, he was saying that rooms and space has memory. So like a room has a memory. If you kill someone in that room and 100 years go by and some strangers walk in that room where someone was killed, that memory is there. And that's why that it feels different than any other room that you've walked into in that particular day. And he says thoughts are that way too. Thoughts have memory. They've always existed. It's just the fact that you wrote it down or said it out loud. That thought has already existed. That thing is out there.
Who were we talking to about? Oh, no, it was Matthew McConaughey was talking about when he was writing Green Lights, he went back to the place where he was conceived.
Oh, that's fucking gross.
And stayed there for like a month.
That's
until
fucked up, dude. That's so fucked.
This wall right here. What my mom was holding on to.
Yeah, this
When Dad popped.
This
As I'm
Lamasco's
rolling this
unisex
booger.
bathroom. It's gonna spend about a month in here.
This booger I've been rolling up,
Yeah.
it was my mother's.
That's a funny joke. Dude, if McConaughey said that to me, and he was like, yeah, I spent a month where I was conceived, and I was like, where was that? A fucking gas station bathroom, dude?
Inside my mother. God bless you.
God bless you, dude.
Wow.
That DP coming in hot, dude. You got the strawberry and cream?
Dr. Peg.
That S&C, dude? Okay. But
I
no,
spill
that's
it all over
interesting.
myself on
Let's get
camera.
more. Let's cruise through the book.
Extraterrestrial influence on human history, I think, is interesting because, like, she talks about how like Atlantis was like an Isby area, and then they came back and it would have
was
been
the
swallowed
old
by
Dominion
the ocean.
or whatever. Yeah, I caught.
Isn't Old Dominion a band?
Yeah, it was the. What do they call themselves?
I think it is the
not,
Old Dominion.
Not Dominion. It's golly.
Old Domain.
There you go.
It's the domain.
The domain.
It's
and
the domain, and then the other one is the Old Empire.
the old empire,
Yeah.
the domain, and then like they call themselves the Expeditionary Force or something.
Yeah. And they're the ones that
of.
go out and check on shit for people, like for the other Isbies, and they're
Yeah,
like,
the Star Trek people.
Correct.
Yeah, they're going from like galaxy to galaxy and fucking.
Yeah, and they really don't
scoping
give a
shit.
shit about this planet. They're like, hey, what you guys think about like math? You're pretty close.
And you
what
know-
you got about minerals and shit? Basically, as far as like minerals and like how that shit goes in science, they're like, you got it all wrong because
Yeah.
you can't date stone
You got stone dates
compared to the
differently than
fucking rings on a tree.
wood,
It doesn't
yeah.
work. They're like, matter will always be matter. It doesn't matter what you do to matter. It will always be there.
Yeah.
So your dating's wrong, but your math is.
And you
It's
know,
close.
You know what's crazy is in prep for this episode, I started watching the Jetsons, and
Shout out,
a lot more sexist than I remember watching.
dude.
The
Which
50s
is
was
crazy.
wild.
Which is crazy that stories like this came out of probably like the same time the Jetsons was written.
Hey, and while we're talking about the Jetsons, low key, Maid can get it straight up.
Maid the robot.
Yeah, Maid can get it straight up. Wearing that little fucking skirt, she get it.
That
Okay.
for the Supercross fans out there, Jets sidelined, and I'm pumped about it. Sorry.
My point was that
Dabbed that leg, broke
These
that
aliens-
ACL, fuck that
these
guy.
aliens are
We just
non-gender.
derailed-
You know what I mean?
derailed
Like
your
according to this, they're like the
Train
aliens are
lifted.
non-gender,
Bro.
and then like the Jetsons, which came out like after this was already dropped and like rumored and been out there, like, no, let's make them sexist.
Yeah, right. Like, what happens when you get 3 high-functioning, unmedicated ADDs in a fucking room?
Dude, it's funny when Tom has like an intellectual, like actual thought, and he like puts it out there, and then just like I always do, it's like autism has entered the chat, you know, and then I just ruin whatever he's
What's
talking
worse
about.
is when I get fucking mad, and like I get dyslexic as shit, and I just
Yeah.
start saying shit backwards, and then it just really pisses me off. It's bad.
Anyways, no, the Maid can get it though for sure. I think no,
But, like I was gonna say, what moments throughout human history do you think had extraterrestrial influence?
let's talk pyramids, dude. Clearly, is there any other clear definition of how the fuck, literally that phrase, how the fuck, in human history what is the first thought anyone thinks of? It's got to be the Great Pyramids. Like, there's no fucking way. How the fuck?
Oh, she name drops the 10 tablets.
Do you know the scale?
Moses.
Yeah.
All
Bro,
Isbys.
It's
Isaac Newton, Isby.
Bro, it's wild. The great. Look, can you?
Matilda O'Donnell McElroy.
Is it too much to ask you to
Isby.
Google something?
There's only 3,000, by the way.
Can you Google the scale of the Great Pyramid of Giza? What is height of scale?
Did you see the dude that just scaled it? Like, completely illegally, got kicked out of Egypt?
I believe that.
Yeah.
What is the scale of the Great Pyramid? Great Pyramids. I just wonder. It's got to be fucking. Go to the all.
Oh, hey. Also, side note.
Yeah, that one.
I was prepping for this episode.
And go to all. Let's see hold on. Don't lose that thought. What do we click on that? What is it saying? How tall is that? 500 feet or 450 feet.
Yeah, Khufu.
And they built that fucking when? 2000 BC? Are you shitting me?
Yeah.
Are you fucking shitting me? How'd you do it? Aliens, bro. Aliens, bro.
They have no idea how they cut the stones.
And they're geographically,
and they're from fucking miles away.
Geographically, I forget what it is. There's like an astrological significance to the lining of the pyramids. So like during when
they just perfectly point to north, south, east, and west.
That's what it was. But there's also
they're also aligned with the belt.
To a degree, there's certain ones that align with certain constellations, and
Correct.
like
That's
the
what
Great
it is,
Sphinx points to like the constellation of Leo or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
looks like
Yeah.
Sphinx.
It's just fascinating. It's almost like a compass for Earth. And it's like they helped them build this and they were like, hey, also don't forget, we're over here. And then they pointed this in that direction.
Well, and then if you really go down those rabbit holes, you end up in frequencies and sound and levitation and shit.
I think if you go down rabbit holes, that's how you get to wherever Alice in Wonderland went to.
Yeah.
It's cheaper to make.
Honestly, sometimes. Or do. Hey, also, but the hieroglyphs is a fascinating point when it comes to the pyramids too, because
the light bulb one.
Yeah, the light bulb.
They were talking about these telepathy kids and how some of them can understand like French and they've never heard French. Like they've been in America their whole life, and then somebody's speaking like Mandarin, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I understand that." And like
they understand the emotion or the concept.
So like Rogan was talking about putting these kids in front of hieroglyphs or something like that, and seeing if they can figure out like.
Oh yeah. Or the remote viewing one where the CIA just paid some
What if you got a
dude.
nonverbal autist? Think about the things they could solve.
Dude.
World hunger.
Not bad.
We're going to Mars tomorrow, dude. You find that fucking dude?
Get out the way,
No, honestly, I think the way Mars will be is so like, yeah, like super heavy and the Starship will get taken care of, but then these Tesla robots.
Have they never seen Alien?
I believe that we'll send this Starship and it'll land, and then the Tesla robots will actually set everything up and get it prepped. And then you'll
that's
have
the only way.
atmosphere reason.
They have to have, they
It'll
literally
have to be robot built before a human can ever go.
I
there.
like that, actually.
First off, it's a 90-day journey. It is or a 90-day or
90 days is
6
best.
months.
90
months.
days is best when Mars is as clear. We
And
did
it's
an episode on this on
every,
the podcast.
Yeah, it's like once every 9 months that
No,
the
it's
Earth
once
comes
every-
into fucking constellation to where
No.
you have the ability to even get
brother,
there within 9 months or 6 months.
3 years.
Oh, once every 3 years
That
you
it
get the
is
opportunity
90
to fucking
days
line
away.
up. Yeah.
That it is 90 days away. Other than that, the furthest Mars would be, worst case scenario, is 180.
So 3 years in advance you send shit there.
Yeah.
You set up shop. And you get shit ready.
Yeah.
And praying that goes good. 3 years from then, you can send people there.
I think you could send people
And
on
then
100.
praying that goes good.
I think you could
3
send,
years from then, you can recover their bodies.
I think you could send humans on a 180-day journey if you could figure out how to hibernate properly.
Well, first off, they got the wrong people in charge.
Yeah, I
Look,
think
I'm
so.
just saying, if you want to save weight on a Starship, like once Elon gets that motherfucker going, they just caught the boost. They just caught the booster. What, Friday, Thursday?
They've caught it.
Thursday. Well, they've caught it twice.
Yeah.
They just landed the third catch of the booster. They haven't been able to get Starship version 3 to come back successfully. They got version 2 to come back successfully, but
yeah,
version
they had a
3
good
is still
Starship
a mess.
landing.
Like this is first emulation of version 3, and it's still not going hot. They're still working the bugs out, but the booster catch they're fucking nailing.
Yeah,
oh, dude,
And they're only getting better.
I get so fucking hard watching those fucking.
By the way, just a name drop. If you guys don't watch Marcus House on Saturdays, if you want to learn anything Starship, that's your dude.
Do you know Marcus House?
I don't. I just watch all the live
Do you
streams
text
when
that?
it pops up.
Do you have your phone on you? Will you text that to our group chat right now? Marcus House, so I don't forget his name.
Marcus House, yeah.
Text
Every
that name
Saturday.
We're going to roll on to the next topic on the book, though. Let's go to the next talking point, Thomas, please. So we're going to talk cosmic dualism and the this is the domain versus the old empire. I don't really care for this talking point.
This is
that
where Lucas got the idea for the Jedi versus the Empire. Just had to change a few.
You think so?
Probably.
Why do you say that?
I wonder, like, how many of these nerdy dudes that were like into Star Trek and Star Wars, like, had actually like probably been like pro alien people of their time.
Oh, they all were.
Right, but I'm saying like they probably consumed this like it was the Holy Grail.
You think so?
Probably.
I wonder.
But essentially, this talks about like the forces, like the domain, which would be like the Jedi seeking to like liberate and enlighten people, and then the old empire, which forces a prison-like system on Earth, which would be like the Anunnaki, basically creating human life to mine gold.
Correct. It's wild.
Yeah. I think I don't like that talking point as much. I don't know.
Well, and they also create a monotheistic culture, and they build you to be only able to live on this planet to do one thing, and then they keep your soul constantly moving between bodies.
That was another thing too.
It's like, dude, the depth of that book was
speaking of purpose, though. She does Errol. She mentions that like as an Isby with. I can't remember if she's part of the domain or the old empire. I think she's part of the domain, and the old empire is the bad, and the domain is the good. So she's part of the domain on this expeditionary force where she like does reconnaissance and stuff. But she has this awesome mention about like that I think is fascinating, that they like test you to see what your soul is good at. And they then they identify what your then purpose is.
Yeah,
I thought that was cool. It's very utilitarian of them to be like, hey, borderline socialistic, but like also they're like, hey, what is your soul good at? And then you're gonna go do that for the domain. Yeah,
like instead of sending all these kids to college and they still have no fucking idea what they're gonna do when they
find
get
out what the fuck they're good at. What's intuitive?
It's just like you're born. All right, let me do this test real quick. Here's your job for the rest of your life. We'll see you.
But the problem with that is that people are so goddamn fucking stupid anymore. It's like nobody's good at fucking anything. Not to, we're branching off, but I think that
that checks out.
That's an intelligent way that an intelligent species would like if you were exploring the universe, you would need different things: engineers, maintenance men, pilots, co-pilots, interpreters, whatever. You would need souls or Isbys that are good and that thing is intuitive to them. And I think that was like. She brushes over that rather quickly, but I think that's a fascinating point.
Well, I also think that like what's interesting, is you mentioned how like consciousness or souls is like essentially just like frequency and stuff. And I mentioned this on the way here, but it's like,
dude, isn't that wild?
Well, to a degree, but to me, like if that was the case, I feel like you would hear stories about people that go under heart surgery and like anesthesia. And they like take the heart out of the person and then like they work on it and the machine pumps all the blood and everything for them and then they put the heart back in. I feel like you'd have some Freaky Friday instances where like somebody wakes up in the wrong body.
So
I don't think so.
I got one perfect for that. Spend enough time on YouTube, you'll find an answer for fucking everything. But there is, if you get into not only reincarnation, but there is, God bless you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry, we're listening.
No, you're good. If you get into that kind of reincarnation thing,
fuck yeah.
If you go down such a wormhole, you will find that there is a video, and I have to pull it up later, but it essentially stems as heart transplants, and the person getting a little bit of the person that they got. So, like,
schizophrenia.
It goes down a roll, but the short story is there's a guy has a heart attack, whatever, needs a heart, gets a heart. Well, he gets a heart from this guy, and this guy's straight-laced, let's say it's Brian. Brian needs a heart. Brian gets a heart, and he comes back, and he's completely different. This motherfucker starts playing the violin, never touched a violin in his life. Starts playing the piano, never touched a piano in his life. Starts listening to gospel. This guy's been the most atheist guy he ever met in his life.
And he got a black guy's heart transplant.
So now I'm just eating fried chicken and
voting for the Chiefs. Yeah. No, dude, it's wild. Seriously, though, it's happened. There was a set of twins that the twins, their parents died in an accident or something. Or no, hold on. The twins died in an accident, and
I believe you.
They have the same couple ends up having a little girl, and the little girl comes back the same fucking way. It's I remember. Yeah,
I've heard stories of like this lady who was pregnant and had a miscarriage, and then like a few years later got pregnant again, and then the daughter was like, "I remember being in your belly before, and it just wasn't time for me to like come into your life yet."
Dude,
or like these kids will come back and they'll be like, "Yeah, I was stabbed in a past life." Like these kids can fully recall their like. Past life.
They say it's like your cat is like 5 years old, and like right now I'm waiting for like the little Hitler to come out of my fucking kid, because right now threes is fucking awful. But
and this is this is getting borderline existentialistic. And while we're here, I just want to point out to everyone that is listening to this podcast right now,
we're not atheists.
If you're having an existential crisis, as I often do with crippling anxiety, I heard a song the other day called "A Quiet Place to Die" by a band called Alpha Wolf, I believe.
Well, this lady was talking about fucking overdosing on heroin at the first place the aliens touched at Earth.
Well, let me just...
That's how she starts off the book. As I'm sitting here planning to overdose in the mountains. I figured I would send this out.
Let me make my point. The point is...
Oh, yeah. I forgot all about that. She is like, I'm fucking
she's piecing out.
Yeah.
The point is, that song
She got a higher calling, though. Because that's fair.
I heard that song.
Like, if Jesus calls you, you're not just going to go light it up.
Yeah,
Kurt Cobain it out by...
Yeah. Get shot by a shotgun?
Later. We'll see ya.
Ono kill me.
Right. I'm going to go be Thor now.
But Quiet Place to Die, Alpha Wolf, is extremely soothing for a existentialistic, anxiety-ridden person like myself. So,
do you think schizophrenics just remember all their past lives, and it's still them, but that's just all
57 fucking versions of them?
Yeah.
You ever dated one?
No.
It's great.
How does one...
fucking great.
It's like sleeping with 20 women at the same time.
This begs the question, though, on a real note, jokes aside.
It's like jumping out of a moving car but never stop moving.
This begs the question, though, like on a real note, how can you grab knowledge from a past life? Right? If reincarnation is real.
Expanding your consciousness.
Our definition of reincarnation, whatever it may be, whatever you want to call when your ISB fucking moves on to the next thing and you become a new thing now, your sleeve is dead, now you're on to this new one.
Oh, yeah. Hey, speaking of sleeves.
How does fucking Isaac Newton get that information? You had mentioned that earlier in the interview. Yeah. How does he hone that? How does he fucking...
They just tap into some other shit?
No. How, though? What is tapping into? What did he do? Some kind of fucking witchcraft?
Yeah,
I want
a Freemason alchemist.
I want to know.
Well, not only that, but if you look into all the people that made like all of the great findings, they all say that everything came to them in a dream.
I mean, that begs the question.
Every one of them.
But dogs dream. They've done studies. Dogs do dream.
Mine's actually having
factually
episodes.
So you can't say that's a humanistic trait.
Like whole ass episodes.
So can an ISB go into a dog in their next life? Can you just be a fucking labradoodle?
The body's just it's just a vehicle. They can be whatever they want.
Right. So that begs the question, like, how do I tap into that?
Frequency.
How?
Everything vibrates at a certain frequency. All you got to do is parallel.
Do you think that the way to achieve that changes throughout time? Moses went to the desert, secluded himself. Abraham, same thing. Muhammad, same thing, but a cave. I mean, you're like all these guys just go into seclusion and just focus on trying to...
I don't think it changes. I think you can tap into it. I think, like they said, there's only a select few that they're actually after. like 3,000, and what's the Earth, like 3 billion?
No,
3
it's like
trillion?
8 billion now. No,
Yeah.
I'm having a thought now about what Tom was saying. I think there is something, and expanding on what you were just saying, I think there's something extraordinarily.
Well, I'm just thinking about like technology. Like back then, Moses, Abraham, Muhammad times, they didn't have all of this
That's the
electronic
point
stuff.
I was going to make. That's the point I was going to make. So if you were
Technologically
if you were to go into like a what's the term for someone who lives in the woods? Like
just like
a tribe?
gypsy?
Cathartic? No.
Neanderthal?
Yeah, like a cathartic state. Like if
A
you were
nomad?
yeah, like a nomadic state. That's the term. If you were to take yourself in,
If you were about to kick it old school,
if you were going to go live in the, like if you wanted to hone into your frequency and figure it the fuck out, right? Like there's too much external input now. All of this technology has been involved, and now there's frequencies coming off this monitor that we're reading off of.
Oh yeah, everything's
there's
getting
frequencies
beamed
coming off
into
these
you.
lights, this fan. There's frequencies from you to me. There's from Pablo up here, right above your head. I mean,
Tommy's mustache.
yeah, dude, his frequency on that mustache is ridiculous. But the point
It's a
is,
transmitter.
if you wanted to go nomad and like go to nowhere bumfuck Alaska and find yourself, and then and only then, I think, if you did like some monk type shit,
I don't know though.
Would
Like,
you-
Wim Hof isn't having like spiritual revelation.
who are we to know that though? Maybe he just is not sharing that knowledge.
Also, side note, speaking of body sleeves earlier, has anybody here watched Altered Carbon on Netflix?
I've not. Pretty nice.
Dude,
Pretty nice.
It's pretty rowdy.
I heard that
They use the exact same thing, basically. Bodies are just
Yeah.
sleeves. The elite have made multiple sleeves, and then they hire this basically hitman,
I like that.
and they put him in a sleeve, and they're
Yeah,
like,
and as
hey,
long as you have your disc, you can be re-uploaded.
they're like, hey, I've been killed.
I've been
And I want you to
re-sleeved
find
like
out who
6
killed
times.
me. And
that-
then they jam murderer's sleeve into some guy, and they're like, try to control it.
That's
It's
an interesting
wild.
thought. Where are we at? I lost track of my time. Here we
We're
go.
about
Yeah, we're not.
7 thoughts in.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm 30 minutes.
We've made it past page 1.
Oh, mine stopped. I don't know where are we at on time. I don't want to go crazy long, but
We're 4:40.
what time is? Okay, we're at 30 40 minutes because we've bullshitted for 10 or 20. Okay. But anyways, that begs the question, like we've talked about consciousnesses.
What is
Consciousnesses.
In my mind, it was like, with technology going these ways, like, is it harder to tap those frequencies? And that's why you have these psychedelics like ayahuasca and stuff on the uprise that you like see shapes or little green people and, you know, experience this overwhelming sense of just love, and it helps with PTSD.
Yeah, apparently everybody that does shrooms or ayahuasca taps into that shit.
Dude, I knew
They're like,
a guy that was involved in the church, like a deacon, like on the board.
What's a
went-
deacon?
Like a elder, like on the board of the church, like helps the preacher run the whole organization of conning people for tithe.
He's the
What
preacher's
does
dad.
conning mean? I don't know these Christian.
So then basically he's high up in the church. Just like imagine somebody right underneath the preacher.
Okay.
And then he does ayahuasca.
Above the preacher, below the pope.
Okay.
and
No, above the priest?
No.
He's above the priest?
I mean, technically everybody's below
don't
the
know.
pope.
But so basically this guy
Nobody?
that's high up in the church goes to South Africa or America, does ayahuasca, and comes
Yeah.
back atheist.
Not mad.
They're
Not mad.
I think that okay, so what that's at the base of everything.
But then again, they're trained from like birth. Like, you're this way.
At the-
And then they open up and they're like, why?
at the base of everything, when you start talking about hallucinogenics, it will
Not
literally
a bad idea.
it's a great idea. Do it. I suggest it to everybody. Do it. Try it at least one time. But the thing about it is that like we understand so little about the brain. And then when you do something crazy like ayahuasca, LSD, mushrooms, whatever, some kind of fucking fungi that changes the way your brain processes information,
Shock therapy.
whatever, with the little thing in your mouth. but it will change the way you perceive the things around you. And we still don't understand what that is. But like your eyes see it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the root cause is that we know nothing about the fucking human brain. We know fucking less than nothing. We know like what happens, what part of your brain is active when your eyeballs are moving and accepting data, but we don't understand anything else about the brain. Like we know what needs to fire to make your fingers wiggle, but we don't understand fucking why.
Yet we can tell
we
that
can't repair those.
Yep.
We know what can fire to make your fingers wiggle, but we can't make fingers wiggle if you haven't had that capability.
Yeah,
That's
but
what I'm saying.
Salamanders have regenerative fucking tails, and octopi literally have
Dude,
8 fucking legs that are all cognitive of their own selves and function themselves on top of the master brain.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah, dude, it's bonkers. The fact that we know nothing about the brain is what leads me even further into this deep end of like...
If life's a chessboard, bro, we are so below pawn, it's not even funny.
No, we are like a dust particle on the board.
We're a molecule of that fucking dust particle.
Yeah, dude, it is baffling how little we know about the brain. And then that being said, though, like how little we know about the brain, who's to say that when the time comes and we are able to upload consciousness to a disk or a drive, that's us. The day we figure out how the brain works is the day that we can upload a consciousness to a disk.
Well, they've learned how to.
That's the
They've
day.
learned how to save data
Jesus,
to
Tits
DNA
McGee.
now, and
Jesus
they've
Christ.
actually figured out
Who was that?
that DNA works a lot better
Tom's just
than
pulling
anything that we make right now.
random.
Have you seen that?
What's that?
They've found out how to take DNA and save shit on it. Like use DNA like a fucking hard
like
drive.
a flash drive.
And
That's all it is data. Yeah.
They found a way to save data to DNA.
Yeah,
and it's like
of course.
way better. Biologically, it's way better than anything that we've made.
Think about how many gigs, how many mega gigs, how many giga gigs your fucking kilogigs, your body, or maybe even just your dick.
That's what I was thinking.
Where'd it go?
It's loading. We got shit Wi-Fi.
The Wi-Fi? You don't have
we
fiber?
got shit. Why we got a direct feed internet, Ethernet that MacBook to the internet again?
Why is
They
that a
found
butt?
this new sea creature.
That's a donk.
Dog. That is like
That's
a
a
pocket
donk.
pussy. So if a human
That's
could,
a fat pussy,
if a
dude.
human could make it,
Has
down
anybody
to this,
here watched
somebody
Dickie?
would fuck this.
Has
Yeah.
anybody watched Lil Dicky?
Look, somebody.
That's the thing. He
somebody-
flops out of the closet
Somebody is
mid-episode,
fucking
just-
that.
I'm putting my wiener in there.
He pulls it out of the
That's
microwave. and
instantly
just,
what I thought of the first time I saw this. I was like, somebody would fuck this.
well, that's another thing that they say in the book. Dude, we got way off topic on the book, but that's another
we're
thing they
still
say
on
on the book.
No, we're still on the book. We're
is,
talking. We're talking about how consciousness resonates with each and one of us. So we were just talking about like what each one of us thinks about consciousness and like how these ISBs like. How, and that's how, for everyone that's listening or watching or whatever, like that's what we're having a conversation about is kind of what she's portraying in the book, or he, I think it's Spencer R. Lawrence wrote the book, but it's
Correct.
It's it's what's her tits' fucking letters.
It's the military transcripts from
Matilda.
the interaction.
It's Matilda's letters and the military transcripts unredacted that she stole that wrote this book. So we're just exploring like consciousness.
God bless her if she really did that.
I hope so, dude. I hope this book is 100% factual. I fucking pray to God because
it hurts so good.
That would make me feel so much better about dying.
I know.
That's
After I
why
read
it's
the
gotta
book, it
be
just opened me
easier
up to everything.
steal national secrets than to do like Snowden now.
Yeah, they had fucking mail clerks and shit, dude. I mean, fucking, could you imagine?
Did you imagine she's walking out? They're just like a diary. What a soft bitch. They're not even
Yeah,
looking
right?
through it. You know what I mean? She's got all her stuff written in there.
I'm gonna write this down in my diary that we're talking about this actually.
Right.
So, also, I'm starting a diary tonight.
Which is hard to think of though. Like
Starting a diary?
I just had a conversation with a fucking alien.
Yeah. Could you
would
imagine?
think you might just leave that out of the diary.
Do you think-
like at that
what are-
point you're probably so mentally fucking expelled that you're like, I just got brain fucked by something from out of this world. I'm going to bed.
What are the odds that you kill yourself the moment after you speak with an alien?
Not the moment, but like what happens
Afterwards,
What
I
happens
mean-
when this alien's gone? And
No,
she
when-
felt like she could. She even described like when she was
Exactly.
not in the room, she could feel the entity Ariel. And it's like, so what happens when Ariel is no longer in that
Errol.
sleeve? Yeah, you know, when
Errol,
Ariel's
yeah.
no longer in that.
Oh, she could
sleeve.
tell immediately.
Yeah.
She told her she left.
Remind me again. Neither one of you have made it to the end of the story.
No, I know I did.
Huh?
I did.
You did?
Yeah.
is there a mention? So she talks about when she goes back to London and she's preparing the letters to send to this guy who's affiliated with Spencer R. Lawrence somehow, one way or the other. I don't know.
She's at the end of her stage.
London.
She's ready to move on.
Is there a reference to like her having a connection with Errol or Arl or whatever once she's gone to London and she's in her elder years?
Yes.
Does Errol come and visit her, or does she just feel...
They speak frequently.
Just like in her head, she like feels Errol speaking to her? I couldn't remember the end of the book.
So what she ends up doing is, at the end of the book, basically plays out that she communicates...
Spoiler warning, if you're planning on reading the book, which I highly suggest, just pause it here and skip 20.
Just fucking listen to the 4-hour-long video that is in the comments.
Yeah, link in the description.
Yeah, so basically, end of the book, she comes to terms, she finds out that she's one of the 3,000 or 4,000 they've been looking for. That's like OG Expeditionary Force, whatever, that they weren't able to get back because of the prison planet boundaries they have on the reincarnation of us.
Yeah.
So she finds that out. She becomes fluent in the ability that when her body is resting, she uses her body just like them as a vehicle, and she reassumes her duties elsewhere as an Isby. And then once she comes to terms with how to do that frequently and fluently, she essentially just spends all of her time as an Isby and keeps forgetting, kind of like Avatar, keeps forgetting to take care of her biological fucking body. It's like, you know what? This is fucking worthless. I'm ready. I'm out.
Yeah.
Like,
and that,
we're going to throw up the deuces.
Avatar.
Is the proper
Isn't that wild?
Is the proper term for that astro projection, I believe?
No, that's more of like what
that's
Zach
like
was
third
talking
person
about,
looking at your body
experience.
But they do speak of that in the book.
She does talk about like you are more than just your body, and she's like, "What do you mean?" And she's
Errol's
like, she
first
says
conversation with her
like,
was
just
like,
be, and she's like,
"Yeah, don't exist,
astro-projecting.
just be." And then she projects out of her body. It's like, "Oh shit, there I am."
There's this little alien.
Oh fuck, I'm me now.
That looks like a toddler with no eyelids.
And it was like a profound realization.
I want to
like,
come back to this.
I'm not that body.
Can you? I want to come back to the old man that went on Rogan and was talking about like the simulation. Not that this pertains. We're not discussing simulation theory here. That's not the point. But this guy heavily talks about in great detail about therapeutic what do you call it when you just sit in a room quietly? Meditation.
Bro, are you wearing slides?
Yeah, for sure.
Bringing them back. I haven't seen those since 2009.
I'm still waiting on my Kanye slides to come in.
Not bad.
8 years after 9/11, never forget. So that being said, is there something we can do, I wonder, with meditation? Like if you were to play a certain rhythmic sound, like even if it were just a repetitive frequency, like a
could we do some cool shit?
And then if you just if you could just sit with yourself and like Errol says, and just be and just breathe.
What's the whole point of a monk? Free your mind.
And if you
do
just
not
stay
think, do
and
not
shut
feel.
all the lights off and shut everything else, blindfold yourself and just stay here and focus on your hematic, like your not hematic, but your homeostatic condition, and you just focus on breathing, and you hear this noise, and it's a certain frequency, then could you log in essentially to like something else? You know what I mean? Because she like talks about frequencies a lot. Like everything is just a wavelength and a frequency. Like that's what everything in the universe is.
And
a
it's
wavelength
tuned
and a
into
frequency.
much like a radio.
Yeah,
it's completely
and
different.
And it can
scale.
travel eons.
She says the difference. The difference is when we're talking about like tens to hundreds of thousands of volts, they're talking of billions. Like the scale is completely different. Billions of volts. Electricity the same, but still.
Fucking mustache over here, dude. Don't fucking sip your beer like that.
God, I'm waiting for him to like have gloves and like beep boop bop the fucking chair out of here like Eggman.
I'm
not mad.
I was thinking about hiring him as my
Have you seen
butler,
the new Sonic?
No,
Sonic 2?
3.
I don't think I've seen the 3.
Oh, dude, you got to. It's great.
Fire.
My kids pumped up at
Lit
it.
up on
I have
it.
a 3-year-old, by the way, so literally I've probably watched all of them at this point.
What's crazy to think about is like in our kids' timeline, how much is going to be different. Because like I think so. Like I sat down last week with my grandpa.
I'm
and
just having
recorded
a rough...
like a 3.5 hour long conversation on like our ancestors and everything, like family history bullshit. And he was talking about like how his great grandparents saw electricity, saw the first biplane, and then saw fighter jets at the same time, like in their life. Got to see the evolution of like
Oh yeah,
this stuff, and then like nuclear submarines and
The
in the
industrial-
same.
dude,
you know,
I was
like,
doing this shit with my work buddies the other day. What's the lowest you remember gas being? Take me back.
Not below $1, but
Yeah,
pretty
I remember
close.
it being $1.
Pretty close to $1.
Isn't that wild?
I remember like $1.95.
I also remember I bought a diesel truck, and the next day the motherfucker went to like $4.50.
I remember in high school when I moved down here, gas was like $4.20,
Shit was dope.
$4.60.
Shout out to the Iraqi-Kuwaiti war, dude.
Yeah. Shout out to fucking President Bush.
Shout out to fucking 9/11, dude.
Yeah, thanks for that, Bush.
Yeah, you fucking twat.
Hey, Bush is good beer.
Yeah.
Dude, I'll say this. Have we hit all the talking points on the list? I feel like we missed one at the very end.
A big finish?
I don't know. I'm still kind of honestly torn.
How do we wanna wrap this up?
I'm still torn on aliens. Like
There's no way they don't exist. There's no way they do not exist.
I don't know, because an ISB is essentially the same as us. So like we would be aliens also.
Fun thought
Correct. We're all
experiment.
playing God.
Fun thought experiment. Have both of you gentlemen seen Interstellar?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
And when they're traveling through the black hole for the first time as a group, that ghost comes through the windshield of the spacecraft and she shakes its hand, right? You guys remember that? She shakes its hand, or they touch hands. Later in the film, shout out to Nolan Ryan, because he thought this all the way the fuck
And
through.
he's doing
But
the new Odyssey movie.
Yeah, that's going to be
Isn't
lit.
there another Interstellar coming?
No, I think it's fake. But anyways, that being said, you later in the film find out that it's him from another dimension,
Correct.
and he is seeing them like the antagonist is seeing himself and his crew travel through a black hole, and he is like reaching out to touch them, and that's what the ghost is.
Uh-huh.
So like, to Tom's point, I think aliens really are, what we're seeing is just another form of us. We're
Correct.
just too dumb to fucking understand what's
That's like
happening.
Tucker Carlson doesn't believe that they're aliens. He believes that they're like angels and demons that are just like in another plane, like that we can't see. Kind of like
And to put
animals sing certain colors.
and to put nomenclature to it is so Neanderthalic. It doesn't matter. The fact that Tucker Carlson is calling it an angel and a demon, that's fucking retarded. The point
you
is,
also gotta think,
to
like,
put
look
a
at-
human English word to what's happening, it doesn't make sense because they're not even using English. They're telepathically.
humans can't comprehend so much. Like if you were trying to think,
Yeah,
if I was
dude.
trying to put myself back in like the fucking my great grandparents' time when they're fucking Mormons bugging across the Midwestern area.
Shout out to the
You
Mormons.
can't imagine it. You know what I mean? You're
Yeah.
like you in your mind you're like, oh, it's a dirt path all the way through. No, probably not. Like
Yeah.
you imagine roads like we have now, but they're like dirt.
Could you imagine pulling out a smartphone and then calling somebody 5,000 miles away from your location and then having a conversation with them on speakerphone in front of those Mormons? They'd be like, "What is this devil witchcraft? Who are you, devil?"
It's like when an
know
Amish
what I
guy
mean?
just walks
Yeah,
past
it's
a
fucking-
Cummins and they're like,
You're
yeah.
too dumb. You're not
But
enlightened.
I wonder though, like on the DNA,
Tucker Carlson is retarded. That's the point I want
the
to bring
fact
up.
that they're able
In a
to
good
like
way,
look at
sometimes.
A good
they're
way.
able to store
Dude's gotta go
information on DNA. I wonder if you don't eventually see something similar to Assassin's Creed, because like you'd say the same
Can
thing.
you explain
Yeah,
Assassin's
so
Creed?
you'd say the same thing about Star
Halo?
Trek. You'd say the same thing about Star Trek and how like cell phones essentially came from Star Trek, low key, like thought process wise or whatever, or even traveling to space, colonizing other planets.
Yeah.
But then like Assassin's Creed is essentially they're taking this person's DNA and then you get to go back and you can play a video game or play a simulation of your
That
ancestors'
person's
lives.
life.
Ooh, I like that.
Dude, it's just like,
I like that.
Yeah, like
if
the
you go down
Oregon
the hole
Trail,
long
but,
enough, you'll find anything that has to do with aliens. They say, if you've seen it, if you've read it, if you've heard it, it is simply just a projection of what is to come. Nothing's been made that hasn't been made before. They're simply just they're just candy trailing your ass to get to the bigger picture.
Let's go back to my final point on this conversation, and then Tom, we can curtail this and end it however you guys see fit. My final point that I would like to bring up, my final point would be that Rogan brought up the point that thoughts and memories, or thoughts and places have memory. These things, this conversation we're having today, every single word that spills out of my mouth, every thought that has popped into your head,
you don't want my thoughts.
Right. Every Arianistic fucking thought you've had since we started this podcast, it has all already happened and existed. And there's a reason that is, those neurons are firing in your brain and communicating it to your, whatever the consciousness is. The point is that this is all done. Everything has been done. Everything is over. It just feeds into like, you know what I mean? Like,
I'd like to point out too,
we're so minuscule, like we don't matter. So the ISB has to be true.
Yeah.
Like it's I'm 80% sure that like an ISB is a real thing or whatever you want to call it. But like it is a real thing. And like when you die, you're going to be enlightened, at least even for a millisecond, like, oh shit, this is what's going on. And then you're going to forget it.
I'm 80% sure that when the pendulum swings back left and the government starts monitoring woke stuff on the internet, I'm going to be arrested simply for the fact of how many times Brian's called me an Aryan.
Dude, if I had to end it on a no, I'm just saying, like, the whole reason I even up stumbling down this road as far as aliens and anything, like I said, I was born
Jewish,
baptized Catholic, raised Christian, and both Catholic as well.
Thank you.
I have a conversation with somebody every night. I believe it's God, but I also believe in a lot of other things. I'm kind of crappy at both of them. But the whole reason I went down this wormhole is simply I don't put up the binder. I don't build the walls. I don't knock myself off from any projection of what somebody's mind has put out. Like, watch a good sci-fi movie. You'll know when you get a good one. And the thought that somebody thought deep enough to show you their point of view of what they think the future is like. That's what a sci-fi movie is to me. That's what gets me going. That shit's exciting. I'm like, okay, this is what you think the future would be. And you go to a different sci-fi movie, and instead of everybody being octopuses and some wild fucking creatures, they're just normal people that have just advanced for like millions of years. Like, but it's already been done so many times. And the further you go down this wormhole, the further you get into UFOs and remote viewing and fucking telepathy and government cover-ups and
artificial
fucking the Nazis. And you can get way down this hole.
The
but at the end of the day,
or the tall grays,
what I do is I just simply don't let my mind think something. I don't let anybody make up my mind for me. Anything that you can do to expand your perception on the way things are, like, at the end of the day, everything's just wavelength. Everything's just ones and zeros. You can take in more information or put out more information.
We're all ants, dude. You know, ants only live in a 2D plane. You know what I mean? We're all ants that are just crawling on a desk. And then when you run into a topic as big as God or existentialism, what that topic is a giant fucking 450-page book sitting on the tabletop that your 2D plane that you're crawling on. So when you run into this wall, you don't know what the fuck you're looking at. But if you can look to another ant that has climbed that book, or another creature that has climbed that book and can tell you, like, no, that's just a book, bro. That's not the end of your world. That's a book. Stay enlightened, for sure. I agree with everything you said except octopuses. I prefer the term octopussies. Octopussies, I think, is the proper vernacular. Final thoughts, Tom. How do you want to...
Space is dope.
Fuck yeah, bro.
Too dope in space?
I would love to do dope in space.
If I could go out one way, bro, blow me up.
If I make it on a rocket and make it into space, I'm doing heroin.
Like, send
straight
me to
up.
another planet to die. I'm cool with it.
I don't want to come back, dude.
Oh, you need to put me in a sleep pod? No, how about I just do a little heroin?
Right. Yeah, don't wake me up in 50 years like Captain America. Send my ass out.
I'm sneaking black tar in my fucking space boots,
What's
bro.
Neil deGrasse Tyson say? If you go into a black hole, you immediately get spaghettified.
Yeah, spaghettified is.
Yeah, he made his own term, spaghettified.
It's a technical.
Yeah, it's in the dictionary.
Astrophysics
fucking
term.
Spaghettified.
I think that's Italian lingo. I think he can't use that.
Yeah, or WAP, or whatever the proper vernacular is. So I think. Do you guys? Speaking of WAPs, look at your fucking mustache, dude. It's fucking. You look like Luigi, dude.
My mustache gets
Bro,
all
after I
WAP.
shaved mine, I just looked in the mirror and I was like, fuck a wham.
All right, gentlemen. I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. Again,
Where's the outro music?
this was a deep dive. He's not going to play it because he's a sorry ass fucking producer.
Look,
Don't
I'm trying to get pumped.
Don't crank that Soldier Boy either. Turn it down a little bit. This just in: Tom is a shit producer.
I was going to say, that's not the
There
outro
we go.
music.
Nice
I took
and
offense.
soft. Nice and soft. I like that.
Thanks, everybody. I'm Corey Day.
Yeah, seriously though. So this has been a wrap up of the Days Grimm conclusion, if you will, on Alien Interview by Spencer R.
never concluded.
Lawrence. We've kind of done a deep dive on it, but if you want to find the audio version, we're going to link that in the description, so you can click on that and listen to the 4 or 5 hour video. It's super dope. Short of that, you can find the book on Amazon. We'll probably tag a link to that. But just shout out to Spencer, man. It's a killer book.
And if you get a chance, listen to the YouTube if you don't have time to read like me.
I haven't listened to it, but the book is very enlightening. So I'm very pumped that we sat down and talked about this for an hour today. I want to thank our guest today, Zach Berendsen. Seriously,
This has literally been 2 years in the making.
you're such a beautiful human being.
And you kept your clothes on.
I have.
I'm actually disappointed about that. But now since we've been doing the YouTube channel, we got to be a little more
We got to keep it Christian.
careful. Yeah, a little more Christian. And then I would like to thank Tom with his fucking wackadoodle mustache and super Aryan
Here for
haircut. Thank you so much.
Tall gray.
Thank you.
My heart goes out to all of our listeners.
Thank you so much. I'm going to off myself as soon as this airs. But no, seriously, thank you for running the show, Tom. You're a great man. And thank you to all
Thanks
you
for
guys.
having me, boys.
Yeah, no problem, brother.
It's been
Thank
our
you.
pleasure.
Thank you guys for
Am
listening.
I the hottest repeat here?
I think so. Maybe. We'll have to talk about
We've
it.
officially gotten out of the three-peat.
Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, tell your friends about us. If you have any questions, I'm going to reference you to Zach Berendsen. Short of that,
God bless America.
this has been another thrilling episode of the Days Grimm. My name is Brian Michael Bay.
My name is Tom Scott.
I'm Corey.
This has been Zach Berendsen. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you.